Hello, it is me, that divination witch. I hope you're all doing well. I'm here with a witchy video, of course, and you'll have guessed what it is by the title. This is like my third attempt, if not fourth attempt, at trying to record this, and each time something's gone wrong. Is that a sign? I don't know. Because with this video, I have been asked by the spirits involved to share it with you guys. It's a personal story, and there are things that I have learned from this that maybe you guys can learn. And I have been asked by the spirits involved as well. For the most part, some of the spirits want to be anonymous, so I am keeping it as respectful and anonymous as possible. I also want to preface that I don't want to come across as the quote-unquote crazy person. There are a lot of fearmongers out there. There is a woman who is very popular in the spiritual side of YouTube that I know of, who she herself makes videos similar to this about her personal stories, but they're pretty dramatic and scary. And I never want to come across like that, and I never want to just sound like I've lost it, because I'm not meaning to be discriminatory or use those terms lightly, but I have studied mental health. I do have CPTSD myself, and you know, I know there is a fine line between spirituality and mental health, and these things are very impactful on our lives, and spiritual experiences can cross over into mental health. They can literally drive you crazy, drive you into a psychosis, drive you into derealization and things like this, into instability. And that's why, if you are a follower of my channel, you will know I try and be as down to earth and realistic about things as possible. I still question things. It is healthy to question things. Don't take everything at face value as well, and take some things with a pinch of salt. But yeah, I just want to say, look, I don't want to come across like that, but this needs to be shared, okay? So without further ado, let's get into it. To introduce myself as I normally do, if you don't know who I am, my name's Sarah. I go by that divination witch online. I started on TikTok posting readings, now I'm here on YouTube. I share for the most part information I've learned, sometimes story times like this, but everything in a down to earth, practical kind of way. If you like that, hit subscribe. I've also got a link tree below where I do offer readings on Etsy and Patreon. And on Patreon, I also give more hints and tips, advice to do with daily work, things like that. So if you're interested, please check it out. Soul contracts. I'll start with what a soul contract is. There are different theories on this, but in a nutshell, it is what we agree to before we reincarnate. Now, I personally do believe that the soul, that we all have the ability to reincarnate, and we've all, 99% of us, have had past lives, and we've had goals to achieve in said lives, things we've promised we would learn and do in said lives, and then we reincarnate and we have another contract and we promise certain things to do, etc. Now, when we are alive and living and breathing, we can enter into soul contracts as well. It is not just something the soul does before life is born. So a more simple way of putting this is, think of a Christian nun, for example. They're entering into a soul contract with God and Jesus. They are devoting their entire lives to that deity, that religion, that being. And in this lifetime, say if I was one, you know, I am devoting myself to Jesus and God. So Christian God, Jesus, when I die, you know, that isn't taken lightly. That can, it's hard to explain, but that can have a bearing on my possibilities in future lives, on what my afterlife looks like, on what my next life may potentially be. When it comes to deities and deity work and paganism and polytheism, deities are interested in us because of potential we have in this life, ancestry, and also past lives. Like Hecate herself, if you've watched any of my videos, I have had a couple of lives with her. She has been interested in me since then. There are other deities that have came to me because of past lives, because of relationships I've had with them. And when I say relationships, I don't mean we were best friends or lovers or anything. I just mean that I was a worshipper of them, you know, like a worshipper of Odin, for example. Means Odin, the All-Father, may be interested in me in this life. That's the way it works. So if you were a staunch Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or whatever you were, or whoever you were in a past life, then that deity, that faith can still have a bearing on your current life, even if you have no memory or recollection of it, even if you don't really believe in it. These spirits still care, are still invested in you, still watch you, still are interested in you. But paganism, deity work, polytheism, you know, spirit work, whether it's a deity or an ancestor or a spirit guide or an angel or whatever, it's a two-way street. So these beings may be interested in you, but I always say that you can say no, okay? Be polite about it, of course, but yes, consent, free will is the universal law, and humans and all beings have free will, and that's the way it is. We have, you know, the autonomy to make our own choices. Yes, they can be shaped by our human lives. You know, it's very complex, but I try to make that as simple as possible, explaining that little bit. So with me, I have deities that I am aware of that are interested in me, like Hecate from past lives and ancestry. There are ancestral deities interested in me, that a lot of the Norse deities, because of my ancestry and past lives I've had in Scandinavia. And there are other deities from other pantheons. The other pantheons have asked to remain anonymous because it involves this other pantheon. But let's say they're on the other side of the world, and I have had several past lives in this particular country where this pantheon is, and I already knew I had. And essentially I entered into a contract in a past life with a deity from said pantheon, and I didn't honour it. On my spiritual journey, I remain open-minded. That's something Hecate's always taught me to do. It's something I've learned, to always be open-minded. And a few years back, you know, I was exploring a lot of my past lives and past life work. I was doing lots of regressions. I was getting readings off other people, etc. And my spirit team was expanding. You know, anyone that was coming through that was interested in me, because I was so passionate and interested back, I was saying yes to everyone. But I'm one person, and I think this is a mistake a lot of beginners can make. Although we are polytheists and believe in multiple deities, we can only give them so much time, and we've got human lives to live as well. So I got very overwhelmed. Now, one of these deities is from the pantheon. I've vaguely mentioned where I made this contract with another deity from a past life, and she is very close to me even now still, and I may speak about her properly at another time. But at this point, when I was getting overwhelmed, Hecate, because she was always my number one, kind of intervened and said, Sarah, you've got to choose. And honestly, it took me forever. I was respectful about it, but I sat down with each spirit and did readings with them and asked their opinions and feelings and thoughts on things. Do they want to leave? Do they still want me to respect them or not? Or what was going on? So this lady from a past life that was a really close deity to me, like another mother figure, she stepped away. And she stepped away because there was another deity within her pantheon, the war god, that was interested in me. And this war god I had never heard of before. I'd never met before in this life. He is very, I have met him obviously now, but he's very powerful, and he's still revered to this day in that place of the world. So he doesn't want to be mentioned, that's why I'm keeping this anonymous, okay? But he is a very powerful deity, very respected even these days. and he's not nasty or evil or anything like that, but I didn't know about him, and the mother deity was trying to give me hints that, look, there's something not right here. He is wanting to talk with you. I even got a message through a random person I used to know on TikTok to explain this person on TikTok was live and we used to chat, and this person who was also a Westerner like me was interested in paganism and more the left-hand path, but she was interested in anime and drawing and things like this, and she was on a live. It was just a random live, and she was showing some on her iPad some drawings she'd done of different deities, and she drew a certain deity from a certain pantheon. And then she was flicking through drawings, and she said, the next drawing, it's not a deity I work with, but it comes with a message, and I don't know who the message is for, and I just knew it was going to be this mother deity of mine, okay? And it was, and that alone blew my mind, and I was like, holy moly. Now this person on TikTok didn't know me really, didn't know everyone I worked with, we just vaguely chatted at the time. I asked what the message was, and they said that the war god will pretend to be this person's friend, meaning me, like the person who the message is for, who I took was me, but said that the goddess was saying he will pretend to be your friend but not to trust him. Now this was a few years back, and it was one of those moments where I was like dumbfounded. You know, it was definitely a message from that mother goddess of mine. So it got to a point, like I say, where I had to choose. That message scared me, I can't lie, but I kind of blocked it out. I kind of thought, oh, it's coincidence. You know, I tried to explain it away. And when it came to a point of choosing, she backed away so easily. For someone who loved me and still loves me, and I love her so much, she just backed away so willingly, and that was because she was protecting me. This mother goddess, she had a clash in my presence with a Norse goddess, Hel, and they rule over similar things. I'm trying not to give it away. And I thought it was a case of that they were too similar, and that they just didn't like each other. It wasn't that at all. So this clash came about before I said goodbye. It was the time when, you know, I was saying yes to everyone. It was just another random time. Hel wanted to work with me, and you know, this other lady was in the room. I had her candles on and everything at the time, and there was a huge clash. I'm sure I did a story time about it on YouTube, and if it's still up, I'm gonna like, well, I might just leave it, find it if you really want, but I got the wrong end of the stick. I thought they just didn't like each other, but it turns out that it's because from one past life, the mother deity was protecting me from someone in her pantheon, and Lady Hel knew about this from other past lives and my ancestries, and because they're so similar as well, it's not that they don't like each other, it's more a disagreement of how to handle the situation. And Hel wanted me to address this way sooner. She was a catalyst in me addressing this, to be honest. I said no at the time to Lady Hel, and that was that. I made my choice, and for a few years I've just been on this path, mainly with Hecate. Hecate was always there, but for all my ancestry is Norse and I feel at home with them, I kind of blocked out the whole Norse pantheon. I don't mean that to be rude, I was never disrespectful, but I stopped exploring anything to do with my ancestry and anything to do with that past life, and I've been focusing on personal growth with Hecate and Lilith and some of the infernal divine as well mainly, but I've been focusing more on shadow work and progression and things like this. It comes to a point, and my friend's involved here, I mentioned her on this channel here. She's opened a little shop. My friend, she follows Hecate as well. She's a witch. She's good at spell work. Shout out to her. I'll try remember put a link to her shop below if you need a protection spell or anything. She is really good, and I don't say that about just anyone. She is. That's her talent. She launched her Etsy store, so I bought a pet protection spell. And while she was doing this spell, she felt some odd, very intense energy, but Mother was there, meaning Hecate, and the spell worked, but it was like someone else was watching. That someone else was the war god, which I'll get onto in a second. But just before she was doing this spell, because we were on a call together, we were just having a general chat, and Lady Hell got brought up, and she came into my space, and it has been the first time properly since way back then, when she had the clash with the other goddess. So Lady Hell came into my space, and I did a reading with her, and it turned out, and I felt in my soul, it was time. It was time to accept the Norse again, to accept Hell into my life, and to work with her. And so I accepted her while my friend was doing this spell, and the war god was watching, and Hell knew about this secret thing that the other goddess was protecting me from, and they're both so similar. Oh my goodness, it opened a window. My friend had this effed up dream, and I just knew when she told me about it the following day after the spell. This dream was she was being hunted by these warrior men that looked exactly like the culture this deity is from, and they were on horses, and they were wearing red, and they were hunting her down, and she said she felt terrified, and that Mother was there, meaning Hecate, and Hecate was hiding her, concealing her. And there was a literal window in the dream. She was in this house, and the guy, she went to shut the window, and he was on the other side of the window watching her, but he couldn't quite see her because Hecate was protecting her. And when she told me, I just knew. I thought back to what happened. I thought back to that weird message on TikTok. I just knew it was this war god. And that Hell, and even the mother goddess from that pantheon, it was time. It was time to address it. Hell had kind of helped open up a window to this as well. So I addressed it. I went into several deep meditations. I did readings with the gentleman about this. And long story short, I know this is pretty long already, my past life self was a follower of this god, a devout follower of this god. I was a warrior, and I was supposed to be celibate. I was a female as well, and this was not unheard of. And this culture that I lived in was very based on war and honour and fighting, and it was very dog eat dog, and the greatest honour you could have would be to be a warrior and to serve this god and to serve your leader. And it's kind of like a mixed version of like a monk / nun with a warrior. It felt like that. And I was pretty devout to this god, but I betrayed him. So part of my oaths that I swore to him would be to honour him and obey him, and, you know, go to war with honour, and to not be cowardly, and to not run away, you know, to fight with honour. And if I died in battle, I died in battle. You know, the greatest dishonour would be to run away. And I ran away. And I'm laughing about it now, but it's not a laughing matter. I ran away. And he saw that as the ultimate betrayal. Now, this mother goddess in the pantheon shielded my soul, per se, and I've never reincarnated back under that pantheon, back in that area of the world ever again after that. She protected my soul because she's, let's say, she is the mother deity of that pantheon, so she has the power to do that. And the god came after me, not to hurt me. He was angry, understandably, but he didn't want to hurt me. Although I was terrified, I felt like he wanted to hurt me, but he didn't. He wanted answers. A god wouldn't waste their time if they weren't invested. And I've come to think that, well, clearly he cared a lot about me, you know. he wanted to know why I had done that, why I had ran. And I don't know if I should share the personal reason why, but there is a very personal reason why. I feel like I don't want to share that bit. Very personal reason why. And he finally got to know, and it was being hid from him for all these centuries, however long it's been at least 700 years, by the mother goddess. And now he has his answer. I've apologized profusely. I handled it, you know, with respect. He knows that I, Sarah, in this life, had no memory of that, had no recollection of that. And me in this life, I know not to enter into contracts so willingly that affect my very soul. Not just me as I am right now, but my very soul and all my lives. That sort of contract, that doesn't die out when you die. And that's why he came after me. But he is, I don't know if he's forgiven me per se, but we're civil and I'm not scared anymore. And now I have Lady Hell in my life, and I have accepted her into my spiritual team, and I'm going to start working with her as well and exploring my ancestry, my roots, my Norse pantheon, Norse magic as well. So I'll share more about that. But that's how this has came about. And I asked the war god, well, how can I make it up to you in this life? And he specifically asked me to share the story. So here I am sharing it. I hope the story made sense. It was long and convoluted even for me experiencing it, and it was very scary, very, very freaking intense. Even my friend got scared, and she's worked with some of the most badass deities you can think of. And so have I, you know, I do deity confirmations for people on the daily almost, and I've met some powerful deities. But this man, whew, the power he has, it goes to show that when it comes to modern spirituality, especially on the likes of TikTok and things like this, I'm not being funny, but I have to speak plainly here, and think of me what you will, but it's especially young ones that say, I'm married to Lucifer, and I'm married to Loki, and I'm married to Apollo, and I'm married to this one, that one, the other one. And, you know, it's all well and good loving your deities, and even if that's in a romantic way, I'm not there to judge that. But what I am saying is to be very, very careful as to what you are getting into and what sort of contracts you're agreeing to. You also see on the left-hand path a lot of people, you know, entering into contracts with demons and things like this. And do you know what you're doing, really, truly? Do you know the full consequences of your actions? Because this was something that blew up in my face that I had no idea I'd even done. And for all it was a solemn oath and very respectful that I broke, like, it's not something like selling your soul. I didn't sell my soul, you know? It's not as, I don't know, scary per se as some of these other things people are just doing willy-nilly. So what I'm trying to say is be very, very careful with what you're swearing to and agreeing to, and keep your word if you can, you know, and don't bury your head in the sand, and take your time as well. You know, Hecate is my mother, and I'll always call her my mother, and I don't need a title for that. That's why I've made videos, some of my older videos, I've said, you're not a high priestess, because I got backlash for that. But because these people are entering into stuff you don't fully understand, not everyone, of course, but, you know, you're swearing a solemn oath to a god for all your lifetimes, for your whole soul, you know, they're going to come back on that. It happens. So be wary and just be sensible and think, okay, what repercussions can this have? You know, what am I getting into here? Make sure you're a million billion % sure of what you're doing and that it's truly what you want. I hope this helped. It's very heavy to get that off my chest. Let me know, you know, what you think. Have you had any experiences like this? You know, be respectful is what I would ask. you know, it takes a lot to share something like this. But anyways, I hope it has helped someone. If you are thinking of entering into something very serious, you know, think twice. But yeah, until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.